Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more buckshot testing. And today we've got a really interesting combo to try out, but we're not necessarily patterning this combination today. We're going to run it through some ballistics gel and see what they can really do and if they actually work as intended or designed anyway. We've already pattern tested these shells several times on the channel with some pretty nice looking results. They're not a cheap shell and they kind of float the line where if they work, especially in the ballistics gel today, then sure, they serve a purpose, but the price versus what other options would essentially serve the same purpose is kind of right in the middle zone where a lot of people just probably would use something else. But we'll see. Maybe the gel test today might tell us the full story and really show that these shells are what we should be running. I have my doubts. I don't know what we're going to see, but I'm really curious to see if they actually do what they're intended to do anyway. So for the shells I've got today, I brought out some of these Hevi-Shot Dead Coyote buckshot loads. These ones being the 12 gauge, 3-inch, 12 pellet load of double aught at about 1350 feet per second. And these are their 12 density tungsten as well. But as you can also see, it says that it's supposed to be frangible. So I'm really curious to test that. As far as I know and as far as I can tell, these are sort of like a Hevi-Shot pellet that you would find in a turkey load, but they're kind of powderized and packed together, kind of like you would find in a frangible handgun load. Will they actually break apart in the gel or not? That remains to be seen. And if they do, are they just going to kind of split into a couple chunks, or are they going to essentially just turn to dust and make a nasty mess in the block? I don't know what's going to happen, or if they're even going to do anything at all. Are they going to hold together and penetrate, or are they going to turn to dust? We'll see what happens, because I'm really curious to see how these do as far as terminal performance goes, considering a box of 5 of these is like $40 to $45. So not cheap at all, but are they worth it for terminal performance? As for the shotgun we're running, I brought out a Mossberg 500. This one's got a 28-inch barrel on it, and we've just got the stock full choke thrown in it today. Like I said a second ago, we're not necessarily patterning these today. I just want a nice condensed spread so we can get a number of them in the actual gel block to see what happens. So now the question comes, what are they going to do in a gel block? Let's head down there to where I have our table set up, and we'll see what happens. Alright, so now we're down here at our gel blocks. I've got two 16-inch blocks of clear ballistics gel. These are 10% blocks. And yes, they do have a couple different wound tracks in them, but this first block up here kind of only has one little pencil hole through it. And that is our dirtier block, just in case these absolutely make a disastrous mess in the gel. I didn't want to kind of waste a brand new clear block on them necessarily, but we can still see everything we want to see here. And our tracks that we got down here in the second block shouldn't really make a difference ideally in today's test. Now, as far as distance goes, we could shoot these pretty much at point blank, 5 yards away, something like that, and guarantee every pellet be in the gel. But I want to have a little bit of distance to kind of simulate a little bit closer to what a hunting scenario would be. So I'm going to step it back to about 30 yards. That should still give us a nice condensed area of shot, but also give us a little more distance instead of being pretty much right up on the muzzle. That way, if these slow down a little in flight, they may not carry enough energy to get them to actually be frangible. I don't know what's going to happen yet, but I want a little distance, but where we can still keep a handful of pellets in our gel. So I'm going to walk it back to about 30 yards over here. We'll take a shot into these two gel blocks and see what they do. Are they actually going to be frangible, or are they going to hold together and just penetrate through everything? I don't know yet, but let's take our shot and see what happens. All right, that shell gave us 1435 through the chrono. Boss claim is 1350, although I believe these are usually pushing 1400 feet per second from what I remember. So if that isn't enough velocity to get these to do what they're intended to do, then I don't know what will be. But let's go look at our gel, because I think we saw some rather interesting results over there. Okay, so here we have our blocks, and things got pretty interesting over here. We had multiple pellets actually impact the gel, although maybe not quite as many as I would have liked to have seen. We had one here that definitely hit. There's one low down here that definitely hit. This was an old hole. We had one here that hit with maybe a wad strike or something right below it. That's not a wound track. And we had one that barely clipped the left edge over here that didn't do anything for us either. But we've got a couple tracks we can follow. that one, that one, and that one. And needless to say, you see a distinct lack of frangibility right there in that gel block. The 2 pellets that we actually captured went completely through 16-inch block number 1 into block number 2. We have 1 pellet stuck at the bottom right at the 20-inch mark down there, and another one that's on the other side. It's a little hard to see from here, but if we look at the top, it is probably right about the 21-inch mark over there on that side. And both of those pellets are completely together in one piece. They did not break apart whatsoever. And even if we come over here and look at one of our other wound tracks that entered up here in the front, it wandered all the way down the top of that first block. It carried on into the top of the second block. You see that lighter, brighter color wound track right here. It carried all the way out and came out right on the corner edge over here, out the back end of the block. So I don't know if that was a little piece of a pellet that had already come apart, because it is barely any sort of wound track at all and cleared the whole gel block, unlike our other pellet, which is now sitting right over here. You can see it a little better on this side. But the 2 that we have, they did nothing but poke pencil holes through everything and penetrated 20 to 21 inches worth of gel. More than enough penetration, but they did not do what they were designed to do, which is be frangible. Now, was that a case of us only having 3 pellets that have reliable wound tracks in the gel to look at, and the rest of them would have been frangible? Maybe, but still, if these are designed to come apart, all of them should come apart. So although I would have liked to have hit the gel with a couple more pellets, we've still got 2 of them that we can pull out of the block and take a better look at. So that's what I'll do. I'll cut these out. We'll take them up to the bench on the porch, measure them, weigh them. We got velocity, so we can calculate some energy numbers, or at least muzzle energy, and we'll see what they actually look like and if they even tried to do anything or not. Well, here are the 2 pellets that we pulled out of that gel block, and they clearly did absolutely nothing. But we can see that they are kind of that Saturn ring looking design as well, kind of like a Federal Flight Stopper pellet. Not a huge fan of that style of pellet. Will they technically cause better wound tracks? That's kind of the claim behind having pellets shaped like that. I don't know if it would make enough of a difference to really matter. I mean, in the gel block, we saw just straight up pencil holes through it, so I don't think it tore up the block necessarily, but I find them to kind of fly finicky sometimes as well. Not necessarily pattern the greatest, although these shells have been decent for pattern so far. But the pellets are not frangible, at least not at 30 yards or so. Maybe point blank they might have enough behind them to do it, but at 30, which I would say is pretty conservative hunting distance, 30 to 50 yards or so, they should be still doing what they're designed to, and they did not. Neither one of these have any kind of marks on them at all. Neither one of them did anything. They kind of look like pencil lead or graphite, but they feel like solid pellets overall. As for measurements, the actual rounded side of the pellets are right at .322. These are double-aught. They're supposed to be 33 caliber, so we're a little bit small on the actual round diameter side. And to my surprise, on the actual raised Saturn ring looking side, we're at .319. So we're a little bit small all around, and that kind of technically means these are a little egg-shaped as well. They don't appear to have any deformation to them either, so I don't think that's at play here. Both of these measure the exact same numbers. So we're actually a tiny bit under the 33 cal double-aught size that they claim. As far as weight goes, we're just over 50 grains for this first pellet here, and our second pellet is pretty much the exact same. We have a little bit of a breeze on and off, that's why the scale's being a little bit jumpy like that, but they're just over 50 grains. Now, from what I've found, a lead double-aught buck pellet is anywhere between 50 and 60, depending on the quality of the lead, but usually 55 or so is pretty typical. So these are technically a little lighter weight than what a lead double-aught pellet is, even though the density is supposed to be a little bit heavier with their 12 grams per cc high density tungsten claim or whatever. So we might just have a little bit of over-claiming happening here, not exactly telling the full truth, since these did not do what they were designed to do in the gel, and they don't exactly measure perfectly up to what a double-aught is supposed to, and they're a little bit lighter weight than what I would kind of expect to see as well. So very interesting to put the numbers together here and see what they did in the block. So after doing the calculations here after the fact, at a muzzle velocity of 1435 and the pellets weighing about 50 grains on average, we're looking at a per pellet muzzle energy of about 229 foot-pounds per pellet anyway. So if we multiply that out by 12, since this is a 12 pellet load, that gives us 2,748 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. So quite a lot right there at the muzzle. That's just kind of how buckshot is. You got a lot of payload that gets pushed down range, so you have a lot of energy, but it is divided up per pellet over the entire load, and you may or may not hit the target with all of your pellets as well, while also dropping off pretty quickly at moderate ranges or so as those pellets slow down. Either way, that is clearly not enough velocity or energy to get these to be frangible like they're intended to be. Maybe if you hit a rock or something next to the Coyote, metal fence, something like that, they might come apart and prevent some ricochets, so that could be a factor as well. But ultimately, I think these are more designed to be a hide saver, kind of enter, come apart, and not exit, and that is obviously not what's really happening. Okay, well, what do we think about this performance here? Would they be effective on predators? Yeah, absolutely so. But would they be any more effective than any other regular loaded double-aught? Probably not, really. I mean, maybe they're moving a little bit faster in the velocity compared to, your typical 1325, somewhere right in there for average double-aught buck loads. So maybe you might have a little bit of that on your side, but anything beyond that, not really any different than anything else. I mean, these are a little over 50 grains worth of weight. You're carrying maybe a little shy of what a lead double-aught pellet is, but the little extra velocity would probably even things out decently well. And the wound tracks, I mean, it's a pencil hole through the gel. No deformation, no flattening out or expansion or anything like that with the pellets, and they're supposed to be frangible. Well, where is the frangibility here? I figured if these worked, they would make a mess in this block, and definitely not. Probably if you're shooting a steel plate or something, they'd come apart, but so would a lead pellet with doing that kind of stuff out on a range. The frangibility was supposed to be kind of the big factor with these. Maybe if you hit a bone, they might try and do it, but I kind of have my doubts on that side of it as well. Overall, they're kind of just an overpriced double-aught buck load in my opinion. They pattern decently well on the patterning board like we've seen before a number of times, but they're just not really a load I would ever really want to use for anything. They're rather expensive, especially for a predator hunting load. They don't do what they're designed to do as far as frangibility goes. And even then, if you wanted to deer hunt with these loads, I probably wouldn't suggest that either. You've got the extra velocity, you've got enough penetration to do it, but it would kind of be our luck as hunters that you would hit a shoulder blade or something with them and the pellets actually would become frangible at that point, and then you wound a deer and it's just not a good idea to do overall. So what are these shells good for at that price versus this performance? I don't really know. A Coyote would not have a good day if you took a shot at one with them, but it would have the same effect as any other double-aught buck load. If you got a pattern that's good enough to put a handful of pellets through them, gonna serve the exact same purpose. So let me know your thoughts down below. Is this about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these Dead Coyote double-aught loads, and if so, what kind of results have you seen? Is this a performance you would ever actually want to run for anything? Or are you kind of like me where they didn't really do what they were intended for and they're way overpriced for what the performance gives you, and it's just probably not a load you're ever going to really pick up for any particular reason? And maybe what other stuff do you want to see us test when it comes to ballistics gel with other buckshot loads or predator loads or anything like that? That was my last shell of those Dead Coyote double-aught buck loads. I'll buy more if there's enough people that want to see other stuff done with them, but I think we've pretty well put them through their paces and seen what they can do. But let me know what you guys might want to see down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, you have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All the information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.